Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Tisha, one of your hosts with Casual Convo Friday, and we've got Nate, my co-host, my partner in crime out of Rome, Georgia. Hello, Nate.
Hello.
Hello. And today, our special guest is the well-dressed, you've seen him with his bow tie. This is Carl Shawn Watkins. He's the CEO of Carl Shawn Watkins Consulting. And today we're talking about being vulnerable and leadership. And can you be an effective leader if you are also vulnerable? And I love this topic. I think it really flows well into what we spoke about last week about authenticity. So Carl, awesome. Great to have you here. Thanks for joining us on Casual Convo Friday and jumping in the hot seat. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube, make sure to use the comments, the chat box, so that we know you're here. If you have any questions as we go along, make sure to put those in there. We also watch the replay if you are not catching this live but still want to tune in. All right, so first question, Nate, you've got it?
Yeah, I got it. Carl, thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for having me, Nate. I appreciate it. You and Tisha, man. Great people.
Thank you.
So first question I want to get into, we're talking about being vulnerable as a leader. How do you manage being vulnerable while leading? How do you do that? Let's talk about that. Start the game off here.
That's my kind of thing there, Nate. It's really being authentic, and I know I try not to use that word and that term. I don't know if you guys. I did a post a couple of days back where I kind of took a shot at people having master classes and clubhouse rooms on how and steps and how to be authentic. I just think it's authentic. I use an analogy that my dad always told me when I was coming up. He said, "You don't see the lion walking around the jungle asking everybody, questioning everybody about who he is. Everybody knows who he is. He's a lion. He goes around the jungle and all animals know who he is." And I think that's how authentic is. So once you authentic like that in your own self, vulnerability isn't an issue. I use my vulnerability as a superpower. Can it be harmful? Absolutely. But vulnerability is what's misunderstood by a lot of people, is they think it's all about telling all your business. That's far from the truth. Vulnerability is just being able to understand there are things that you can't do, stuff that you don't understand, and empowering someone else to help you do that. And a lot of time, men have problems with that because we think we got it all under control. So that's why I go with leadership. The delegation is easy. You can tell somebody this is your job, that is your job, but the leadership form of that is it going back to them saying, I appreciate you for doing that because I can't handle that. And that doesn't make you less of the manager, less of the supervisor, less of the CEO. What it does is shows your employees and those that you're leading that this guy is in my corner. And that's what establishes that relationship and helps you to be vulnerable with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I was in the Army, that was one thing that like everybody had. Everybody used to act like as a leader you couldn't have any failures, you couldn't mess up. You had to be top of everything, and that's really not the case. That's one of those things where like it actually helps you to show it always helped me to show my soldiers like why is it that we failed today, or how to make ourselves better, things like that. You know what I mean? Like they need to see that faltering because everybody's going to do it. It keeps them from feeling down and out about it when they have issues.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's important that you say that because I was in the military as well, and I often grappled with that for the sake of showing vulnerability because it definitely is in the military of all places. It's very hard to show that you're vulnerable, and if you do, and it gets out or it's known, like you're like a pariah at that point. But what I did and what I've learned is to internal that as a superpower. So therefore, I have the ability to let you know about how much of that I know, who to trust, and letting them know. And see, this is where we get with the vulnerability, where a lot of time we get confused, and we take the top shelf definition of it, and it's just meaning that someone wants to hurt or harm you. And that's not it in its essence. That's why I'm a wordsmith, and I kind of dig deeper into the words and understanding that vulnerability is for each and every person. And it's to the aspect of how you want to use it. I can only give you my vulnerability. So therefore, it's not me telling you all the things I've been through in my life, telling you all the pitfalls. It's strategically telling you in that time and place, this is what I'm sharing. This is where I'm going. This will help you. Let's go down this journey. And see, that's what makes it your superpower.
Yep. I want to add to that because, you guys know me enough, and Jason Tracy joining us on LinkedIn, that I am very big into storytelling. And even
Yes.
if you read those stories that I write, it really is like, I'm failing at this, I'm struggling with this, and this is how I'm going to get back up. And if that's how you're teaching people through your vulnerability, through your stories, that I was there too, and now look at where I'm going. Like, it shows this level of strength. And I feel like that's how you have those leaders. They've had to go through those things, and that's, you're learning from them of how to get back up and how to keep moving forward. Because I think, like maybe many of you, or a lot of women for sure, we deal with a lot of the imposter syndrome of, I have to appear perfect and well polished, and I can't have bad days. And it's like, oh, to hell with that. We're not there anymore. We've all had those bad days. I've had bad years. I really feel like, and I say this a lot in talks, that 2015 to 2019 were just horrific, hellish years. But now you can see what I went through to get to here.
And it's the power of it. And that's why I term it as a phrase superpower. Because when you're in it and you're using it to the capacity of which you need to use it, you can see how powerful it is. It empowers others. Your vulnerability, and what a lot of people don't understand, vulnerability connects humanity. Because if I'm not vulnerable enough to tell you what I need, how can I get any services or anything done to what I need? So it's the essence of, I have to somewhat show myself to you to reveal what's going on with me so that you can be the one to help me. And most of the time those are directed, and a lot of people don't know how to use that like that. And that's what I teach in my training and my mentoring and leadership, is that use that vulnerability that you have. Because you'd be surprised how many times those in leadership, people see through you. They know if you don't know it. You managing people. A lot of times you will hear that phrase. I will hear it a lot in workplaces. I know more than my boss know. I know more than the CEO know. You know why they get that attitude and they feel that way about it? Is because you haven't empowered them with that vulnerability within you to say, look, I can't really do this. I need your help on that. Can you structure this? Can you get this? I really appreciate it. If we turn that around sometime in leaderships, we'll see a dynamic that those that work for us actually be for us.
Oh yeah, 100% right there. One of the big things too is like the whole point of you having a team is for them to do things that you can't do, or
Absolutely.
you're not great at, or you don't have time for, and stuff like that. I think a lot of people, and I mean, I'm not gonna act like I haven't been the same way before. I think, but too many people, they think that like, oh, if I have to have somebody do something for me, it means it's a weakness, and that's not necessarily true. I get that a lot when we're consulting with companies, business owners, operations directors, things of that nature. Sometimes they kind of act like we're trying to tell them what to do, where it's more so we're just offering advice on one portion of their job, kind of thing. We're just trying to be part of that team to work with,
Yeah, and it works, and it works with the trust factor as well. Yeah. A lot of people will not be vulnerable because they don't trust. But there goes a part of you being strategic about being vulnerable. You can be vulnerable with those that don't know you. And so the trust factor doesn't have to be someone that sits well, because I can't be vulnerable in some things with family members because of the way they expose things and how they treat you. So it's how you do the vulnerability is what's the power to you, which enables it to be a superpower, because it's something that you are totally in charge of. It's something that you don't have to give out. It's something that you don't have to show. So therefore, when you say that I don't want to give my vulnerability away because someone can hurt me, yeah, that's Captain Obvious in a sense, because if you're blindly doing it, it can't happen. And I don't advocate for doing it that way. But if you work through the steps and you work through the process of being in yourself, and leaders have a hard time with this, there's no trust and there's fear. Those are the two things that always be a demise to a leader, because he don't trust those that surround them, actually, that whether they've been put there or they've been hired there, and then he don't believe in them, that they're not there to hurt him or they're not to take it. The worst leader you could have is one that doesn't show you how to do the job, one that's holding back, one that's treating you like the grasshopper. I'm only going to treat you a little bit today. I teach anybody that's working with me everything I know, for the simple fact that if I'm not around, they can handle it. If I'm not there, they can step in. And that's where it comes from. And that also brings about the trust in whoever you're with, too.
Right. Hey, Nate, can we just say hello to a couple of people here joining us? We've got Nigel, Nat, we've got James Christensen. And I said James, like, hiya, long time no see. I just had coffee with this man, like literally right before we jumped on. So good to see you, James. And he also wrote, authentic, real, and vulnerable. Wish it had not taken so long to understand living this way.
Absolutely, James. I right on board with you that I lived that way for a long time, but I didn't live it outwardly, and that's the difference that I'm doing now. Came
Yeah.
to a point that I actually I did a post this morning, and I'm in this video challenge, and I'm doing these videos, and I did a post about when I was deciding to go to law school, and I went to my law advisor, and me being a 50-year-old at that point in time, he gave me all the don'ts. I don't think you need to do this. You're already established doing what you're doing. It's a big financial burden. A lot of the students are twice, half your age or twice as old as them. Like it's a rough. And I'm looking at him like, you're the advisor, which I do understand what you're saying, but I'm coming to the school because this is what I want to do. And I think he had a reverse pep talk, thinking that he can talk to me in a sensible way because we were in the same boat. But I turned that around and took that to be ammunition and fuel. And say, you gave me no reasons to go after my dream. And I just put in that post that, don't let nobody tell you what you can't do, regardless of the age it is that you're doing it. So.
Oh, can I say something on that? So I've written a story about this. You guys know I'm like full of stories.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that like stuck in my head is when I shared this story on my blog of how I host an event here, and Nat knows because he's been, but I host a social connect event. And before I was having it at this one location that wasn't the best location, but it got us by. At least, you got to get started. You got to jump in and you're going to grow from there. And I remember saying, this isn't really my vision, but it's what it is right now. And I'm going to keep working at it, keep working at it, keep working at it. And I went to the owner and he's like, Tisha, when are you going to realize this is as good as it's going to get?
Oh, wow.
I was like, mother, like I was like in my head, I'm like, all right, I just put on my nice little smile and be like, thank you.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, but it's just, you meet those people that they don't understand the potential that you have. They've already downplayed you. And you've got to rise above that. So, I mean, we talk about leadership. That's like the worst thing you do to your employees or teachers. The worst thing you can do to a student is downplay what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. And I used to think back, I was in seventh grade, and of course we always have these what do you want to do career days, like what do you want to be? And I came to school just a little bit of my backstory. I watched Perry Mason staying with my grandmother on weekends, right? And my brother and sister, they liked cartoons. I wasn't a fan of cartoons because I did a lot of reading and book stuff as a young lad. So books and stuff like that, like, was my entertainment. And I was in awe at Perry Mason up there in his black and white, turns, how old TV, how he was just like breaking these people down with his what he was doing. And I was just amazed at that as a 6 or 7 year old kid. And I used to tell my grandma, I was like, Nana, that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be. So I kind of like had that in the back of my mind all the time growing up. And we got seventh grade, and I was like, thought I was accomplished a little bit. I could talk a little bit. My vocabulary was nice. And I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. I went to school, and, I dressed up in my little bow tie. Always wore a bow tie. I never a tie. I was never a tie guy. I was never a tie guy. Look, I took a bow tie picture when I was little, and I fell in love with bow ties. I never wanted to wear a tie. So I got there, and we had everything. And my teacher was, I'll never forget her name, Mrs. Rankin, my seventh grade teacher. I'm putting her on blast because I think there's always a point where people need to know where they messed up. And I never went back and told her. But if she's watching now, she's probably about like 80 something, so she might not be. But Mrs. Rankin told me, she said, why would you choose something to be that you're really not going to be successful in? Like, the school that I was going to was multicultural, but it was kind of a school where, only a few was exceeding to get out of that area. It was in a bad area. And she would say, why don't you try to strive to be like a manager at Walmart or at Walgreens or something that your family could depend on and you can be stable with. And I really got angry as a 12-year-old. I don't think I've ever been angry at that, like at any adult like that before in my life. And I just said, no, she didn't. Like, I went and told my mom, I cried, and my mom was like, she's like, you're going to have people like that. She said, and that's why I push you guys to persevere. And that's what came to me when that law professor said that. And the anger came back to me as a 50-year-old who had done some things in life, and it helped some people in life. And I was like, no, you don't have the audacity to tell me all of these things why I can't do this. And I
Yeah.
just shook his hand. I left there, and I just been on the journey ever since. And I sent him that video this morning because he is in my LinkedIn network. And I sent him that, and I told him Esquire is on the way. So that's what it is.
I'm just laughing because there's so many comments coming up as well. Look at Nidal saying, "Lucky you, Carl. I'm not allowed to wear bow ties. My wife can't drag me. She prefers ties."
Yo, my wife did too. And we've been married now. It'll be 30 years this year, and she did
Wow.
too. She could not stand. I know I look like way younger than that, right? She could not stand bow ties, and she couldn't stand bow ties. And I was just one that was confident in my fashion. I told her to grow on her, and here we are. Long as we've been together, and she actually loves them. She actually picks out sets and styles them, and say, I saw this online, or I saw this and I ordered it, and I saw that, and like, so I don't even really have to buy bow ties anymore. She buys the sets for me, and which is lovely. So now, Dale, just keep putting it on, maybe once a week, start light, and then work from there.
And we have a really great question too from Nidal and Anthony. Yes, bow ties are a differentiator. Awesome, awesome. Yes, bow ties. And one for the bow ties. All right, so Nidal says, I would like to ask about how ready are we after things getting better COVID-19 wise? My concern is, did we develop kind of a comfort zone routine doing everything virtually? So great question.
Yeah, great.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Are we like stuck in a comfort zone now because everything is all virtual and can't get back to just real in-person stuff? Or what's your thoughts?
I think it's a very good question and a very good topic because I fought with it the first couple of weeks I was working from home. I got into the jogging suit mentality and just the comfort of not having to go to the boardroom or the conference rooms and those kind of things, or either getting a half dress. A lot of times I came down top dress. And me and my wife had a conversation when she had actually went back to work and then opened back up her office. And she was like, you shouldn't like get out of tone with that. And it was really a conversation we had that say you should stay on your grind. And now I know a lot of us have started different grinds. We're doing things differently. So we're kind of feeling so much caught up and complacent in that. But I kept my routine. And though I bought a Keurig to have coffee, and just make me a cup of coffee and run out, what I started doing is just start getting fully dressed, coming down, going to the local store and just getting some coffee or the Dunkin' Donuts. And I started just doing those things that were patterns that what I was doing already, I would continue to do. And now it doesn't hurt me to wake up at 4:30 and 5 and do those things because I put them in there. And I'm hoping that a lot of people have got into a pattern because even though we may not go back fully immersed, a lot of companies is just going to be doing like maybe 20% work from home. So you come in the office Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You work from home Tuesday and Thursday. So it is a very good question. And I do think a lot of people have not thought of that. I think a lot of people are comfortable with how it is. I've heard a lot of people tell me, and their company haven't told them, I'm not going back to work like I was before. And I'm looking at it as like, okay, you got your own business, you're doing all that, because eventually you're going to have to come out. Eventually you're going to have to carry your own business some kind of way. Can't stay in these hoodies forever. Although I know the past year, the hoodie people has got a lot of money, but you're going to have to give them up.
The hoodie people. Can't stay in those hoodies forever, peeps. Nope. No.
You got to get back into it. You too, Nate. You got to get back into it.
Yeah. I've got a little bit different perspective because I've been working from home way before COVID ever happened.
Okay.
Now our whole company works remote. But I do agree with everything she said. I think everybody's going to have to get back into that routine. And, I think it's going to be a little bit of, I think you're going to see a lot more hybrid stuff. I think you're going to see a lot more people because the reality of it was before everybody actually started adopting some of this technology, like we've been putting people into Microsoft Teams for years, but it just wasn't a necessity yet until COVID happened, right? And that's when it really picked up. But I think a lot of people who haven't had that option of like, oh, well, my kid's at home sick, instead of me just calling in sick for the day, like, well, I can do both, right? And taking abilities like when they have to do appointments, when they're traveling, things of that nature. I think you're going to see more of that hybrid breakdown instead of the black and white versus, are you working from home or are you working in the office kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it is. It is definitely an hybrid. It's definitely, Nate, a good term that you use because it's going to get back to that capacity. Now, for the simple fact that you've kind of like spoiled. And a lot of people say, I was always an advocate for the 410s, 4 days at 10 hours. I mean, I've been advocating for that ever since I was old enough to really like work. And I always felt that people would get more done if you gave them that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, because they can compound and be concentrated on those 4 days of working. And I do think that we're going to get to that hybrid. If it's not so now, a lot of companies are already writing that in their compliances and in their works and in their guidebooks already, that, this is what we're going to do. And I think it's beneficial to those that have families. My kids is 26 and 21, so of course they're doing on their own. But I mean, you got mothers that I've been on Zoom calls with. I've been talking to people and clients or whatever. You hear Johnny in the back beating on the pots in the kitchen. We're going to have to give some kind of space for that and allow that, that this is really going to be the new norm. You're not going to get away from it. You're going to have to get with the videos. You're going to have to get your game up on technology. You're going to have to get your nomenclature up of how you present yourself and talk. Like all of those things are going to carry us to places where people can excel, and the people that's not going to be there, they're going to be running to catch up. That's pretty much what it's going to be. Yeah.
Yep.
I think so too. And I'm not acting like we've got the perfect playbook for this. We're just really used to doing it. But at this point,
yes.
We don't even have work days like necessarily.
Okay.
Like we're not all of us working 9 to 5. I've got some people that they do 2 to 3 4-hour shifts on that their leisure. The only thing that we require people to do is when a client says they have to have a meeting at some certain time, you have to be there for it. That's our stuff. The rest of it's just task based, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't care when you do it, as long as it's done by when we have to have it done. That's what we work off of. So we put all of our tasks, we'll build the project out, all the tasks get created and assigned to the right person, and the due dates get set, and everybody just kind of works off of that. I think you'll see a lot more of that coming into play. I think as people keep adopting more technology where they can track the work. In the past, it's always just been your manager physically watches you work, almost like a micromanager, and that was how they had accountability. But with the technology that we have today, I mean, you can record work sessions from the screen. You can do task management, like all those tools that you got. I think you're going to see a lot more trust, if you will, which opens up the ability to like, hey, as long as you're getting work done, what difference does it make what hours you're working? Obviously, it'll be dependent upon the job. You know what I mean? Manufacturing stuff to do in that realm, but
right.
And it is going to be that, and exactly how you said. A lot of and with my working with law and legal, a lot of things is deadline driven. So we're on projects, and they wasn't called that before because we were making courthouse runs and those kind of things. But with COVID, a lot of those things have subsided. So everything is pretty much over. Like unless I got to take documents to get signed officially or things like that. A lot of things is project. How we work now, we're given projects and deadlines. We don't have any times like you saying, like I get off of here, got a couple of things to do, and I'll submit it. And you know what I mean? But it has come to the fact that, okay, we know I work 37.50. So you work at 37.5 a week. We got you on that scale just as long as your work is coming to that. And it's building trust and it's building relationship, even with all the studies that's being done. Like a lot of people are getting more work done from this capacity of being at home. It also, what it has shown me, I work now intensively when I want to work. Like sometimes at that 9 to 5, I'm not in that bustle and hustle right then. But you got to go to these brick and mortar places. You clock in at 9, you got to work to 9 to 5. But now I go, maybe I don't start at 9. I start like at 12, and I just mash it through to like 6. And I've done way more work in that time than I would have sat there fiddling at the job. And I really want to be doing that from 9 to 5. So it's a lot of advantages. And I think the corporates, big companies, corporations are looking at this and saying, oh, let's take this into consideration. Let's do these hybrids, like you're saying, Nate, and let's see what the people are doing. And you can keep track. Like when I go on and I log on, my log on is telling, IT, yo, man, he spent 3 hours on this. He spent, so it's compatible and it's easy to track now instead of looking for me at the job. Like, yo, where's he at? He's down at his desk. So it's an easy flow now.
Right. Hey, let's look at some of these questions, these comments that we have. Nate, can you put James Christensen's up on the board where it says, I spent decades doing 512s and it spent all of my energy. Balancing hours has helped me, not only me, but the energy with the entire team.
Yes.
And Yeah, I agree. I commented back on the chat that 410s, my husband does 410s. He works for the city of Mesa and they adopted that several years ago. And let me tell you, that was massive. That was like, you've got Mondays off, Mr. Mom, you get to do this. So it's so nice that he does that because it allows me, who's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, picking up kids at 3, dropping them off at this time, to really have that extra day, to have those extra hours to be more productive and so forth. So I love that you guys are talking about this because you get to design those hours. Like you said, you may have projects and deadlines, but if you're more effective and you're more creative certain times during the day, why just say you've got to do it between 9 and 5 when your brain's not wired that way? Like I'm a very 2 a.m. creative and I'll do it at 2 a.m.
Yeah, because I like that because sometimes I sit up and it's like the house is still, everyone's in their rooms. Like, you can just hear like the silence of the night. I come in my sunroom, which is pitch black at that time. And I just look out the windows and I just like, I can focus, like I can generate like way more work and it feels good about doing it. Then I'm relaxed and rest. When I leave from that, I'm not stressed. I'm not, like trying to do things on a capacity or a scale that I really don't want to work right then. Like, cause sometimes it's like today, Jersey, it's nice, breezy, sunny outside. Like at any point in time, whenever I get ready to go out, I can go out, make runs, make errands, and I come back in when the sun goes down. Like, okay, let me put this 5-6 hours in. But it's not a dedication of 9 to 5. I gotta work, and it's conducive for the company because a lot of time, little do they know, or maybe they do know because they keep track of it. A lot of times we're putting in more than we would have at the office.
Right.
Because I'm giving it a little more time. I'm giving it a little more structure because I'm at the ease of sitting up with my feet up, my flip-flops on, and I'm doing more. I may do little instead of 5 hours. I may end up working 8 on this project just for the simple fact I'm comfortable.
Right. We had a couple more people joining us. So hello to Timothy Shade, Royce Blake also joining us. And then Nigel has a question here if you want to throw this up on the board. Nate, Mr. Controls, says, Tisha, you had a busy year and achieved a lot, especially your real estate licenses. Do you have any advice regarding the fact nothing is far as we start our move one step at a time? All right. Okay. I'm going to break it down for you guys. All right.
Break it down.
I look at the year in quarters. I don't try to set goals for this is my yearly goal. I really just try to keep it in little bite-sized chunks because for me, that's so much more manageable. I was telling these guys earlier that I have a very big like celebrity dream bod goal by June 1st. And that's not that far away, but I can see it, I can visualize it, and I'm working toward it because it's broken down. If you're like, Tisha, get there by December 31st, 2021, I'll be like, oh, I can coast it, guys. I don't need to get there. The gym's not calling me yet. But you set a goal, Nigel, just like I did with the real estate. If I'm super focused, I have this intention, I've listed it on my calendar, let's go. Let's move this. Then you will start to hit your goals and you'll start to see that progress because it's that one step at a time, guys. It's one step at a time. Like keep it going until you hit your goal. So many of us just have our goals that we don't crystallize them. We don't visualize them. We don't write them down. They're just like, they're just out there in space and hopefully we get there. But are you going to get there or am I going to check in on your I'm still there. I still haven't gotten what I said I was going to. So.
Yeah, you have to journal them. I've learned it. I write all the time, but it's a difference in writing content, writing articles, and those things that we're all familiar with doing. And that journaling, and I don't mean journaling as the sun came up, I did this today, I got this plan, a picnic. I'm not talking about that kind of journaling. I'm talking about because some people that's how writers really do. They start writing things like that of their nature to get their minds and stuff going. I kind of was blessed, and I always call that a blessing because I never have a blank page. I always got an idea that I start with, and there's always something in there from the meditation in the morning, from the morning prayer. When I get up out of there, there's a flowing of juices that has me to do. And what I do, I got notebooks all over the place. I don't know if you guys said I'm writing. I got 5 of them around me. I'm writing all the time, and I'm writing intentionally. And a lot of times we don't do that. We write stuff down or we forget to write stuff down. Or maybe if you don't write, use your phone. I'm an old school guy. I like the ink pen and the paper. I like to see it.
Me too.
But I write it down. And what I do, I intentionally write things down that I want. It was something I was talking to my wife about. I was like, I've been had that on my list about 3 years. I am a car buff and I love Range Rovers. And one drove past me, this new sport, and my mouth dropped. Like, I'm not a materialistic guy, but this is something I've been wanting ever since they came out, right? I just was enthused about it. I got it from the Army and the Hummers and that kind of thing. So I've always had this fascination with this vehicle. And she was like, yeah, you used to talk about that a lot. And you used to talk about, putting aside. You used to even save and put aside. And what she had brought back to my remembrance is that I didn't write that down. That was just something that I was playing by ear. That was just something that I throw a few dollars here, a few dollars there in the account. And I was like, no, you know what? So I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I want that Hummer. And I put it to say, okay, by the summer 2022, that's what I want. So now I see something. Now it's visual. Now I can be held accountable because I see it. And these are the things that, Nadell, that you have to like put into play. And I know I don't have to tell you that, Mr. Big New Yorker. You can get those things in and put them down and write them down. And then you say, okay, now that formulates a plan. Like Tisha, I was so excited about you in the license. I know I probably told you and didn't tell you at the same time, but those kind of things like that are plans and purposes that we do intentional. That is incredible and that is dynamic. When someone sees that, especially when you've been through a course of life and so many things to follow your story, those are inspiring for other people because now you're at a point and say, yo, man, let me get off my butt. She went and done that. She got family, kids, and she cooking dinner, being combos in the car, all this kind of thing. And she's found time to go out there license. Here I am just wasting time, just trying to figure out an iPhone and how to make a video. Let me go and get myself together and write down some things. Just start writing it down. You'd be surprised what you accomplish once you write it down. Because I love going back and check it off. I love that.
Right. Yeah. And I know we're running short on time, but just want to give a shout out to Dwight Lamb. He said a goal unwritten is only a wish. Thank you. He also talked about the 4-Hour Work Week, which is a great book if you guys hadn't read it. And before we let you have your shameless plug, so this guys was my this was like my tally mark. Like I was in jail in my real estate class. I had 1 through 18, and I was telling James this. Every time I take a class, I'd slash. It was like the proudest moment to cross it off. Done.
Laminate that now. Now laminate that.
I know, right?
Laminate that, and then it becomes the fuel for the next thing you want to accomplish.
Yeah, for my dream bod. That's what we're gonna do. All right, Carl. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me.
Let's wrap it up. But before we go, I know you have an event coming up in May, and then you also have some strategy sessions. So go ahead and share real quick as we wind down.
Yes, real quick, CarlShawnsDailyWord.com. Go to the website. It's not there yet, but I'm telling you because I'm putting it on at the end of this week. Beginning in May, we're going to have Reflections Live. And what that is going to be just talking with individuals and me and just answering questions about how important reflecting is on your future. Reflecting that past, projecting that future. We're going to be talking about that. It's going to be a registered event. The tickets are going to be $10. You're going to get a journal. And in this journal, we're going to be journaling reflections. And we're going to take some of those reflections, work on them, see where they're going to take you to the future. And then we're going to put together some plans for you to get there. It's going to be a fun event. I know you guys have been following me on LinkedIn. You know that I don't play. My journey is real. I'm going to be sharing some of that, let you know some of the things that have propelled me to where I'm at now, some of the people that were involved. And it's just going to be great. You can always check me out, Carl Shawn Watkins on LinkedIn and also at Carl Shawn's Daily Word. I done got into IG, learned how to make a little videos. I'm making reels. It's just life is fun now, guys. And that's what it's all about.
Yay. All right. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much, Carl. Nate?
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Anything else, Nate? You got?
I think that's it. Carl, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for your service also.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Yes.
That's all for me. Go ahead and take us out here, Tisha.
All right. Well, so guys, we are not on next Friday. I'm actually going to be out of town, so I'm giving Nate the week off, and we are back May 7th with Chris Weir with Cleaver Creative, and we're talking about video. So you guys should tune in on May 7th. And if any of you want to be a guest on the show, make sure you just check in with us. We'd love to have you on Casual Convo Friday. Have a great rest of your day. Happy weekend. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Yep. See everybody.
Peace.